pretty, Michelle?
Breathtaking.
I bring it on to your side here, Isabel. Look at that, Joanne. When we go upstream, there's 5 more waterfalls that make up what are called the Kahili Falls. You can see all the green between the trees here is actually a type of ferns. If you look very carefully in front of us, you'll be able to see the trees are all broken off by Hurricane Iniki that hit the island as a Category 4 in 1992, on of all days, 9/11. There's going to be 2 more waterfalls on your side, Michelle. You got 2 just on the below us here, Isabel, Joanne's side. So if you look on both sides, you'll see waterfalls. Now we're going to climb out to the Waimea Canyon. We're going to go across Olokele Canyon first to get there. There are no roads up here. It tends to be a little bit more rugged and dramatic up this way. I'm thinking you might like a little dramatics in your life. So we'll go up and over. Now, where did you do your first helicopter trip, Rick?
Oh, we did out of Princeville.
Out of Princeville, so this island.
Yes. Then our second trip was out of on the Big Island over by the airport there.
How long ago did you do the flight here on Kauai?
Would be 6 years ago.
6 years ago. And then I don't suppose there's been a lot of geological change here on the island, but we do have a Jack-in-the-Box now. I like to cross right about over here because it's just a very beautiful area where half the valley is green and half the valley is more dry and arid. You can see the windward side is where the moisture comes is on the right, and on the left will be the more dry, arid portion. Nice updraft here, so let's continue up. I like to take advantage of that as much as we can. Look at this. 259, across the middle, KLA 3.9.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? That look just like Georgia? Now, the first Polynesians arrived here from the Marquesas Islands, which is a group of islands near Tahiti around 800 AD. At that time, there was only 2 mammals here, monk seals and hoary bats. So they brought with them dogs, pigs, and guess what? Chickens and roosters. You're going to hear a lot of jokes about the chickens and the roosters here on Kauai. My favorite one is if you catch one, you get 12 free. Folks, help us out, catch as many as you can, I'll help you ship them home. But about 1,000 years after the first Polynesians arrived here, Captain Cook came ashore right over here on the left. He was only on Kauai for about 2 weeks, his timeshare ran out. But he was trying to find a passage above Canada, that was his intent. So he left here, went up there, bounced around the Arctic ice and couldn't get through. He decided to come back here to let the ice melt, which we know today does not melt, but he didn't know. So he comes back here to wait it out, resupply, and try again. When he gets back here, he gets into a conflict with the Hawaiians, and he loses his life at Kealakekua Bay on the southwest side of the Big Island. Maybe you were in that area there. The Painted Church and the coffee orchards down there. Then he had named these the Sandwich Islands after the Earl of Sandwich, a small community in Kent, England that was funding his adventures. If you blow up the Earl's Eagle,
Dream of your fantasy, a place just for you and me.
yeah, you got a twister right out here. That's pretty cool.
Spread your wings and fly away. Fly to that distant star from my waterfall.
But if you blew up the Earl's Eagle, you'd get a lot of money. So he named these the Sandwich Islands because they were not unified at that time. Now, by 1810, King Kamehameha is finally able to unify all of the islands. He came here to hostilely take the island of Kauai, but the weather was so bad he got repelled and went back to Oahu, lost a lot of troops. He amassed a large army again, at which point they got influenza, and they died. But the king of Kauai knew that he was coming, so he calls him up on the cell phone. He says, look, I don't want to fight with you. You can have it all. King Kamehameha says, great. If you're going to be like that, then how about you run it for me? So the king of Kauai was able to maintain power without actually, by diplomacy, but he subjugated himself to King Kamehameha's rule, and so it unifies the islands in 1810. Quite often, Kauai is then known as the unconquered kingdom, even though the king really subjugated himself to King Kamehameha's rule. Now the first canyon here that we're going to go into on the east side is called Waialae. There are no roads over here, and it has a little waterfall coming off the Alakai Swamp, so it's kind of fun to go take a look at that. Look down on the right and also down at the bottom. You can see what I mean by rugged terrain out here. Beautiful. Now the next canyon here is called Kauai, which I think looks the most like the Grand Canyon in Arizona to me. Let's go take a look at this. It's a nice setup right in front of us here. You might see little trails. What looks like people hiked along here is actually caused by mountain goats, which are introduced by the whaling industry. They bring mountain goats for sea salt. They use the sea salt as a preservative on the ships. Look at this. The ancient Hawaiians would bury their royalty in the cliff faces here. 400 years later, archaeologists would find bones, canoes out here, and they weren't sure where they were coming from until they found unexposed burial caves, and they were able to piece it all together. But imagine hiking along and coming across a pelvis bone. It was a little unnerving, and then there's a canoe. Where's this all coming from? Well, once they found the burial caves, it made sense. Well, maybe twice only a year do we see actually somebody hike out from the right here, out onto the ridge here, because they just have to turn around and go back. One time I saw here, Hannah, this guy who was standing here like he was Leonardo DiCaprio on the front of the Titanic. He had his hands out like he's the king of the world. So you don't have to do the hiking. Look at the view he had here of the third canyon called Po'omau.
Bluebirds fly, and the dream that you did to why can't I?
Now if you look out to the left here, Isabel, you can see my coworker Shay coming in with your family, your friends over there.
Greenland, red roses too.
Around the corner here, Rick, there's a waterfall called this is called Waipo'o Falls. It's about 800 feet tall. People hike here. It takes about an hour to get here from the second lookout in the back of the canyon. We'll do some turns here.
This beats a hike, in my opinion.
Blue and I see clouds of white and the brightness of day. I like the
Yeah, people come down on the left side. You can see some guys in white shirts to the left of the waterfall, just above the tree, walking into the tree. 3 little dots, now there's 2.
The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky.
Alright, Joanne, look down here on the left.
Of people passing by, I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They really say, I love you. I hear babies cry and I watch them go.
Can you see the people up in the top there? That's where the trail begins. They're kind of standing up at the lookout there.